Welcome everybody to the Youth Danube Salon. My name is Hannah-Sophie Mast. I have the honor to moderate this very special event today, and I am warmly welcoming all of you in this room in the beautiful permanent representation of Baden-Württemberg, as well as all of you who are joining us on live stream. So from Berlin, we are sending a warm hello to Stuttgart, to Ulm, to Sarajevo, Kiev, Moldova, from all the places where you might be joining us. Today, we have come here together to reflect on the ideas that were developed by different generations, mostly the young generation, from 14 different countries, precisely the countries from the Danube region, on the future of Europe, our common future. So these ideas will be presented today, as well as 4 fabulous movie clips that are part of the winners of the movie competition Shoot by Youth. So I hope that we will spend 2 interesting and enriching hours together. I am very much looking forward to the program. But before we start, I have a few technical announcements to make. So for all of you who are in this room, while you are seated and while you're eating, obviously, you can take your mask off. While you're moving around, please put it on so that we are all on the safe side, COVID-wise. And then if you are joining us online and you have trouble hearing me, you can call the technical support. There is a number on the right side of your screen, but I hope that everything is all right and you can hear and understand me. And then later you will need in this room this paper. There should have been one on your seat, because we will do a few surveys, and also those online, of course, will be able to join in on the surveys, and therefore you have 3 little boxes, and I will explain the exact procedure later on. First, since we are here in the nice location of the permanent representation of Baden-Württemberg, it seems proper to first give the floor to our host today, and therefore I warmly welcome Mr. Florian Hassler, who is the State Secretary for Political Coordination and the representative to the EU for the Baden-Württemberg regional government. Mr. Hassler, thank you very much for joining us today for the Youth Danube Salon, and we are very much looking forward to your welcoming speech.
Yeah, a very warm welcome, moderator, Vice Director General Popens, dear guests of the Danube Salon, and a particularly warm welcome to you, all of you, for the concluding event of our 1st Danube Youth Salon, no matter whether at the screens at home or somewhere between the Black Forest and the Black Sea, or indeed in our beautiful representation of the state of Baden-Württemberg in Berlin. I'm really pleased that despite all the obstacles and the restrictions to travel, we have no less than 33 young people from the Danube countries whom we can welcome in our state representation in Berlin. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the last September week at 3 conferences, 260 adolescents and young adults came together, but also a few older people from all 14 Danube states. That was online, in order to think jointly about Europe. They had a very open and broad discussion about European topics that concern their own world of life, like, for example, the outward migration of the younger generation and its effects, questions that concern the upcoming changes, for example, through climate change and also digitization, but also a perspective from outside, from young people whose countries are not yet part of the EU. However, they have also formulated concrete propositions, expectations, and ideas for our shared Europe, and they will present these to us today. I'm very thrilled to hear about them. Ladies and gentlemen, Baden-Württemberg over the past years has been very committed to more citizen participation and advocated new formats like citizen dialogues being put on a broad basis. It's all the more gratifying that, and here goes a thank you to Gisela Aller, our state councillor, who in the preceding legislative period dealt with the citizen dialogue format beyond the borders of Baden-Württemberg. So all the more gratifying is it that the European Union for the first time has also opened for such processes with the Conference on the Future of Europe. The European Parliament, the Council and the European Commission have committed to listening to the Europeans and to following the recommendations in line with their responsibilities. Up until the spring 2022, if there is no extension, the conference is to develop conclusions and guidelines for the future of Europe. And even though I am aware that this is a difficult path to follow, a tight schedule, an enormously broad span of topics, different perceptions in the member states, but also between the EU institutions, the Conference on the Future debate from our perspective, offers the opportunity to conduct a broad-based debate about the future of Europe. And this is why, for us in Baden-Württemberg, it has gone without saying that we make contributions and that we, to the best of our ability, support the Conference on the Future of Europe and with a range of own contributions. It is natural that our ideas on the future are not discussed by us alone, but that we develop them and discuss them with our partners, for example, along our borders with France, Switzerland, and also, like here, in the Danube region. For the past 2 days, I was in Brussels and conducted many talks in the Commission, in the European Parliament there. And this approach to include young people in the Danube region outside the classic EU borders, cross borders, to create such a format, this met with a major response and interest there. The cooperation with the countries of the Danube region is very close to our heart, especially here in Baden-Württemberg. There is a very broad interest in projects in this field, business, environment and energy. And apart from that, it has always been very important to also bring the civil society together. This is urgently necessary because, especially also in the Danube region, there are many centrifugal forces that could drive Europe apart. There is an increasing polarization in many places between people who, on the one hand, think cosmopolitan, liberal, open-minded, pro-European and international, on the one hand, and on the other hand, those who want to more strongly return to national values and who seem to long for a seemingly familiar world of their own nation or ethnic group. I personally am absolutely convinced that the major questions of this time, climate change, migration, international policy, let's just take a look at Afghanistan over the past months, that all these tasks cannot be resolved nationally and especially not in a federal state, but only with a strong European Union and a strong European voice. This is one of the reasons why youth encounters, open exchanges and getting to know each other have become so important in order to strengthen a further convergence in Europe and to enable an understanding between the peoples bottom up. With the program Perspective Danube, Baden-Württemberg Foundation has for many years supported low-threshold projects like Danube youth camps, cross-border youth orchestras and theatre projects, but also shared education and environmental campaigns. Some contributions of the video competition you mentioned a while ago, that was also funded by the Baden-Württemberg Foundation, will give us an insight into the realities of life of young people in the Danube region after our following discussion. This is what we need more of in the Danube region, such simple, easily accessible measures and projects, but also the resulting networks and partnerships between institutions on a cross-border basis. While we're talking about encounters, let me say that, of course, the past 18 months of the pandemic were a tough time, especially for young people. Youth exchanges, trips, all that has suffered a lot and has partly come to a halt. It will certainly take another while until we can fully get off the ground. But let's also see the positives. Without being able and having developed this ability to be in touch online, it would not have been possible to bring young people from 14 states together today and ask them for their opinion live today. The online formats have a lot of potential for the economic and cultural convergence of our continent, which we use ever better. Through events like today's Danube Youth Salon, we can experiment with such new forms of encounter and can learn. Before we start in a moment, I would also like to express my thanks to the many organizations that have indefatigably supported us in implementing this Danube Youth Salon. The Danube Youth Network, ILEU, the Cultural Officer for the Danube Region, the Danube Office Ulm and Wikipedia Foundation. But this should do for introduction. Now it's on our young guests to get a turn. I'm very thrilled to hear and learn what you have developed together, and I'm looking forward to the discussion that follows. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassler, for this nice introduction, or for giving us the background of our event today, the Conference on the Future of Europe. As you said already, we are quite lucky today that we are able to combine the personal encounter in this room with digital tools who bring us close to those who are geographically far away. And I would be interested in knowing, how far away are you actually, those who are on the live stream, and from how far have you come, those who are here in this room? And so we will now proceed with a little survey. And so those who are here in this room, you can take your paper and you can scan the first QR code. It reads Survey 1 or Umfrage 1 for the German speakers. And those online, you can click on the right side of your page on the little box that reads Survey 1. And then usually you should get to a page that looks like this one on the screen that you can see here in this room. You should see it as well online. And I would ask you to approximately, even for those who are not very strong in geography like I am, but approximately we can put a little dot on the place where we are coming from. And like this, we should see already how the map is being filled. We see some more blue little dots popping up. We already see that there are people from Bulgaria, from Moldova. We have the two guests from Moldova. Welcome to Moldova. I'm sorry that you can't be here today with us, but you're still with us online. Romania is also there, Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yeah, the Germans are a little bit in the majority, so the dots are growing bigger. But I think we can also see that we really cover almost the entire Danube region, which is really nice. I would also see some points in the Black Sea. I wonder what happened to these people, but I'm sure, I hope they are all right. And I hope they are enjoying the conference from wherever little island they are sitting on. All right, so thank you very much for your participation in this survey. So now we actually all pictured the internationality that is gathered here in this room and online. And we will go right on to the next survey, actually. We will do the second survey right after this one. So you can scan the second barcode, and online you can click on the second survey box, because I'm also not only interested in where you're coming from, but also why you have come here today, or why you joined us on the live stream. And we would like to know a little bit more about your expectations for this event today, or what is your motivation that you're participating. And so I'm already seeing some keywords, which is luck, new experience, knowledge, opinion. We're getting the languages mixed up, but communication should still be understandable. Generate new ideas, exchange, development, further cooperation. Fun is an important one, of course. I'm glad someone put that, or even more people put that. So fun is in the center of it all. That's a nice outlook for the next 2 hours. I hope that we're going to have fun. Strengthen Europe, future of Europe, to share perspectives, connect people, different cultures. I always like how to watch how this word cloud is growing. So we still have fun, exchange, and meeting new people in the center. And so I'm happy to announce that you're all in a good place today, because this is hopefully going to happen, because we are going to exchange, you are going to meet new people, you're going to be confronted with new ideas. Because as already stated by Mr. Hassler in his welcoming speech, today is the continuation of 3 workshops which took place at the end of September. And these workshops were already part of the Youth Danube Salon. And there, young people from 14 different countries who speak different languages, some of them grew up in the European Union or with the European Union as their life reality, like I did. I barely remember the time before the euro, for example, as a common currency or with border controls. But some young people also come from countries who are not or not yet members of the EU. And so one could think that since they come from quite different backgrounds, from the entire Danube region, which is a very large space, geographically and historically and culturally speaking, these young people have quite different views on the future of Europe. But however, during the 3 workshops, the 260 participants found that they actually have quite a lot in common as well. They often shared the same fears, the same hopes, the same worries and ideas, the same dreams regarding topics that were discussed regarding the future of Europe. And most importantly, these young people, since they are young, they are the ones which are going to experience what we call today the future of Europe. It's going to be part of their life reality, with all the advantages, but also with all the challenges. Mr. Hassler already named some of them: migration, climate change, digitalization. And so we are very much looking forward to their ideas, because they are here today to hand these ideas over to politicians to get their voices heard, because the Conference on the Future of Europe really is their chance to get their voices heard. And this is why I am very glad to also welcome a representative from the European Union, Deputy Director General Norman Poppens from DG Regio of the European Commission. Welcome from Berlin to you. I am very happy that you joined here today. You're yourself from Latvia, so maybe you can relate not only on a political but also on a personal note to the hopes and worries of the young people from the Danube region. And we are very much looking forward to hearing your opinion on their ideas. But before giving the floor to you, we will now jump right in with the youth, since today is about you and your voices. And so we will now start with the presentation of the first workshop. The first workshop has the title Young People's Perceptions from Non-EU Member States in the Danube Region, Differences, Similarities, Chances. And you should now see here on the monitor and online on screen a nice graphic where all the different ideas were discussed are somehow summarized. And I would now like to welcome on stage with me Irina, Vidak, and Midia, who are from Ukraine and Serbia. And online, Arina is joining us as well from Ukraine. Welcome, Arina. And Gabriela and Irina are joining us from Moldova. Welcome to all of you, and welcome on stage. I'm very much looking forward to your insights from the workshop. So, Irina, maybe you can tell us a few words about what kind of participants were present at your conference, and what was interesting about that.
Thank you, Hannah, so much for the opportunity for being here. And we did have very good discussions on the 27th online, spending much time, and we were really very touched from Slovakian presidency to take this issue of non-EU countries being involved in the dialogue on the future of Europe in the Danube strategy, and we thought that we can contribute somehow, because we have been working in these countries for the last many years, I would say like this. And we aimed specifically on the non-EU countries, on the young people from non-EU countries in the Danube region. These are Montenegro, Ukraine, Moldova, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Serbia. We managed to organize 5 different working groups where they could also speak freely in their native language, speak openly about their personal perspectives. They could exchange their opinions. They could make sure which similarities they have and also which differences they have. They could compare them to EU countries as well. And I was really pleased being there, leading also the Ukrainian group together with Arina. And I heard some results, and I was really, really very happy about the exchange that happened on that online discussion.
That does indeed sound very nice. So Arina, you're from Ukraine, you're joining us today online. How was it for you? How did it feel to exchange with other people from non-EU member states on the future of Europe?
Yeah, hello to everyone. It's a great pleasure to see everybody here, and I've been given such an honor to speak on behalf of the Ukrainian team today. And first of all, I would like to thank you, the Baden-Württemberg state representation, for organizing such an event that united us all together here, both citizens from non-European Union states and from European Union states. And secondly, some special words of gratitude go to all teams and their participants for having their deep thoughts, some profound ideas, and super creative mindset. And it was unfortunately not surprising to hear that our countries share the same problems and some experiences in certain areas. Though I was pleased a lot to know that we concentrate on the same solutions, and we are especially eager to implement similar changes. And as for my thoughts about participating in this lively event, I would like to share some of them. Actually, I had not regretted taking part in this conference for a moment, since it boosted my knowledge in various spheres, provided me with diverse connections, and most importantly, encouraged me to strive for more. As for the atmosphere, it was super amazing. It was super friendly because we had the possibility to exchange our impressions, our feelings, with the expectation of of our bright and I hope super foreseeable future. Thank you all for your attention, and I would hope to cooperate more with you and to be given such a chance to participate more in such events as was this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arina, for this very hopeful statement. And we are now very eager to hear which ideas came out of this creative mindset that you described. So I'm now inviting Vidak. Would you like to share maybe one of the ideas that was for you the most important one, or among the most important ones?
All right, thank you. I'm very glad that I was invited here, because I always like to talk about one of the most important topics nowadays globally, and that's environment. I'm a student of biology, so I'm a bit, I know a bit about that. So we concluded that in European Union, generally their laws about environment are very well made, and there are concrete steps that can they could be good for our future. Also, one very important thing that we were thinking about is that youth in European Union has very well developed consciousness about environment, which is also very important. So from our aspect, what we would like from the European Union is to make some efforts to encourage our government, NGOs, institutions to make some changes maybe in our school system, through some projects or something, just to encourage our youngsters so they start to think in that way about our environment. Today's environment, it's not problem of one country. Environment is problem. It's global problem. You need to look at it globally, and everybody needs to be involved in its results.
Yes, that is true. I totally agree that there is involvement needed from all parties and also from all different countries. So that is one important idea that you developed, that there is more cooperation needed in the area of climate protection and environment, no matter if it's EU member states or non-EU member states, if I understood correctly.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for your contribution, Vidak. And so Mediha, you have another idea that you developed during the workshop that you would like to share.
Yeah, sure. Hello everyone, my name is Mediha and I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and before I start I just wanted to say that it's really an honor to have opportunity to present our ideas that we actually covered at the first workshop. Generally, we actually came up to two ideas that we want better we want more clear communication from the EU structure when it comes to the legislation regarding the young people, and we need more opportunities in terms of, for example, exchanges where the youth from European countries could exchange with the youth from non-European countries, because we believe that we as youth from the Danube region and in general we have more similarities and we have similar needs. We want some safety, we want more opportunity in the future, and if we could stress the positivity and the things that we do have in common by those exchanges and perhaps joint projects, we believe that we could make actually some great things together. And what we actually not demand, but what we actually need is are those opportunities that would allow us share those experiences and knowledge that would actually help us all strive and be better versions of ourselves. And we actually need a better, let's say, communication from the EU structure. So, and perhaps some legislation that is actually adjusted for young people and our needs.
Thank you, Mediha, for this demand. I am sure that we will discuss it later on with Mr. Puppens from the EU Commission, and I'm sure he has some interesting thoughts on this. But before we go on with that, maybe we can hear the ideas from Moldova, from Gabriela and Irina. You prepared also some ideas that you would like to present, that you developed in the framework of the first workshop.
Yes, so my name is Gabriela and my colleague is Irina, and we are honored to present the ideas from the youth of Moldova presented in the discussion that we had on the 27th of September. And one of the main takeaways of our discussion was the fact that we have a lack of opportunities. The youth of Moldova has a lack of opportunities to participate in EU projects and take part in the reformation process even. So in our opinion, the structure should adopt policies that are focused on the youth of non-EU countries, and this would be good for several reasons. This would develop the youth. This would give them better job opportunities, and this not stop here. For example, we think that this would lead to a brighter future for our country that would include economical development, better democratic processes, and a modern society, which is of course very important for us.
Thank you very much to Moldova for your ideas. So, if I may, I would like to address directly Mr. Puppens. Welcome again to this event. I hope you can hear us all right, and I hope you listened up to these ideas of the young people, since there were some quite precise demands also to the EU level. For example, more cooperation of the EU with non-EU member states, especially in the area of climate protection and environment. Are there any kind of activities or plans of the EU Commission that go in this direction?
Yes, thanks a lot for having me online in this event, the Danube Youth Salon. I will start with a little bit of personal notes because I listened very carefully and I see this wish to cooperate, and this is great. Because, you know, when my country regained independence from the Soviet Union, I was 24 years old. It's 30 years ago, and I have spent these 30 years on working hard to make sure that my country, first of all, regains its place on the European map, joins the European Union, NATO, establishes good relationship with its countries, but then also to use the opportunities which the EU membership, I believe, has given to my country and my people. And in the end, now working for the European Commission on implementing the European Structural Funds programs everywhere in Europe, I see and I can vouch that being part of EU makes a difference, and we can make a difference all together. What we do at the EU is not just about funding, of course. It is about sharing common values, about working together, and there's never enough cooperation. But what I wanted to say is that young generations can make difference. They actually are the ones who steer us to the better future. And this is why, yes, it's my personal experience, but I'm very happy that also in the European Commission, we see more and more the need to talk to young people, to understand their real needs, but also then to work together on solutions. Because it's not about really, I think, complaining, it's about working together for me. I mean, everybody knows Erasmus program and all such kind of things, which help, I think, young people to get exposed to each other and to cooperate. But I'm very happy that also, and particularly what our Commission President said in her speech, the 2022 will be the year of youth in the European Union. So we really need to think together how concretely we fill in that year with a substance which sort of bridges and fills in this gap which sometimes exists in the ways that we talk, in the ways that we understand what the EU is doing and can do. And it brings me to Interreg. Of course, European territorial cooperation programs are not the biggest amounts of money from EU budget, but I think these programs are the ones with the highest value added. And clearly, when I look at what we have done, and you know very well, we started in 2017, the Interreg Youth Volunteer Program, IV program, with 30 young people who, gained experience in working in our managing authorities on cross-border programs. Now we have 400 last year who joined this initiative. But it's not just about, being part of institutions and managing authorities and learning how to work with our programs. We have, of course, for that also at the Commission level, the Blue Book traineeship, the young professionals. But we need also to see how, across the board, the young people and younger generations have a say on designing the EU policies, on making sure that their needs are addressed. And therefore, I think this youth manifesto, I really want to say it as a good example, which we created 1 year ago, which contains, it was a bottom-up initiative. It creates very concrete recommendations coming from real young people across the Danube region. And this is very good because this youth manifesto, in fact, served as an example. We sent it to all our managing authorities, and we want them to look at this manifesto seriously and think how with each program we can participate. Of course, from the funds, we will be investing in areas such as education, innovation, research, health, labor markets, promoting SMEs and everything. That all should create more opportunities for everyone, including young people. But I also think that indeed we need to understand that for young people, sometimes it is more difficult to start this professional life, to have access to these labor markets, to link what you learn in schools to the realities of the world. At the same, the COVID showed that young people are impacted very heavily because of obviously of changes in the way we teach, the way we work. But on the other hand, young people also have the greatest potential. They are the ones who know the social media, who know the online technologies, who can communicate in this. I am still learning how to talk online, and I hope I'm succeeding. But in the end, it is about also young people telling those elderly people like me how we can, best achieve something together using all these modern communication skills and technologies, and also, caring, because the Green Deal, let's face it, it's an EU level now initiative, and we talk to everybody. We try to see how we can invest in different energy, environment, climate adaptation. But in fact, it comes from the younger generation, this wish to live in that green, safe world, not to be, victims of the pollution or health problems. And this is what we need to do, because I do believe, and I'm saying it from all my heart, that the youth is the hope of our future. So we need to work together. We will be creating as well different instruments. So the Youth Manifesto, under the Danube strategy, you are proposing to create the Danube. There was a pilot, Danube Youth Participation. Now the Danube Youth Council can be created, the network. We will use this as an example because I know that also, first of all, in other macro-regional strategies, we do that, we have specific projects for young people, but I want to also make sure that our mainstream programs can support such initiatives in all member states. We will be also creating the community of practice for the partnership principle, because for us, obviously, when we invest on funding from our programs, partnership is key. So again, participation of youth organizations in all these different forums are very important. Let's build together on what we have done nicely, and then the future will be bright to all.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Poppens, for this statement and for the many examples that you gathered together already on this first question. I think some of these we will come back to later, especially the points that there are some areas where not only the young have to fight to get their voices heard, but that also the old can learn from the young. So we will hopefully get back to that. And maybe on a shorter note, Mr. Hassler, you already stated in your welcoming speech that Baden-Württemberg is since many years engaged in participation processes, especially youth participation processes. Maybe you can just share one example that is also accompanying your work as a state secretary in this regard, or something from the past, or maybe also something that is going to happen in the future.
Ja, vielen Dank auch.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you also for this first presentation of the young people in the first topic section. It confirmed how important it is that young people also outside the EU are involved in this Conference of the Future process, and also to listen to them, because I think that perspective is definitely very important for us in the EU. And it has also set me thinking what I heard, namely whether the commitment the European Union has put forward in the region we're talking about today is sufficient, and whether the prospect of tying this region to Europe in the future is really well developed enough. Based on my trips in the region in the past, I did note that there are also other powers in the world who are very active. And for me, the journey of the young generation we heard about there is a very European thinking and mindset, and this is why I think it's absolutely correct that this format is really set up along the Danube region, but not just focusing on EU member states. To answer your question, I do indeed believe that the exchanges between school students. I, for example, spent 1 year on an Erasmus program in France way back, and I believe, in a way, we also need to think about the fact whether the exchange programs, I mean, traditionally, they have traditionally had a very strong Western orientation in our youth programs, which is, of course, a result of the post-Second World War process and the reconciliation process after the Second World War, Germany having a long border with France, such that traditionally in the exchange between young people at schools and universities, we have a strong exchange in place with French partners. And I could imagine that we as politicians should also see to it that offers are made for youth encounters, for example, in the Danube region, and that this is reinforced once more, that youth camps are being offered in this region. This, I believe, is an important point I will take away from this meeting.
That can get a big thumbs up from your side, because this was precisely one of your demands as well, that exchange programs, cultural exchange programs, language exchange, whatever kind of exchange really could also be expanded to non-EU countries. And so maybe we can take this as a plan for the future that we all kind of hold on to as a vision. And I would like to thank Irina, Vidak-Mediha, and also our online participants, Arina, Irina, and Gabriela from Moldova, who joined us, who presented the ideas from this first workshop. Maybe we can give them a round of applause. Yeah. Thanks a lot. So the second workshop that was part of the Youth Danube Salon dealt with a quite personal and also sometimes difficult question. The question was, stay or leave? Should I stay or should I leave? And this is apparently an essential question for many young citizens from the Danube region. And because if questions, many students report that they desire to leave their home country after they graduate from high school, temporarily or even forever. And so during this workshop, the young people from the Danube region discussed this question, discussed what it means for them personally, but also which structures could be built to help with the brain drain, for example, and several problems. But I don't want to say too much because we have young people who know a lot better than I do on this topic because they discussed it. And so I am happy to invite with me on stage Sofia, Victoria, and Andy. Sofia is from Serbia. Andy is from Croatia, if I'm not mistaken. And so the three will share their ideas and their insights from the workshop. And for the first presentation, we will switch to German, denn Sophia spricht sehr gut Deutsch. Und
Sophia speaks German very well, and she's going to present her ideas in German. So, Sophia, you participated in this Should I Stay or Should I Go workshop and joined the discussion. Who else took part in this workshop, and what was special about it for you? Good afternoon, and thanks for your question, Hannah. 68 persons from 14 Danube countries participated in this workshop, aged 15 to 22. The atmosphere was very pleasant, productive, and proactive. Truly, everyone had a say. And for me, it was very interesting. I'm glad to hear that. And you also had a good feeling addressing this very personal topic with people who actually were not familiar with, right? Yes, correct. This conference was online, and my impression was that everyone had already become friends, even though we came from different countries. We have similar or even the same problems. This is very good to hear, that despite being online, or perhaps also because of that, you have such a nice common space that can be created for shared ideas. And one of the ideas is something you will say something about, something you elaborated on, should I stay or should I go? Yes, we discussed several points. Our view is that in our home countries, there's a lot of potential for improvement, in fact, in all fields: education, environmental protection, digitization, human rights, work life. And we think that young people from EU and non-EU states should be given opportunities to go abroad, to study there, and to advance their education levels. And when they come back, they can then share these ideas and implement them in practice. Right, so usually you come back from abroad with a whole suitcase full of ideas and also energy you want to apply to changing things at home and sharing what you have learned abroad. And this also nicely tallies with the promise made by Mr. Hassler, namely this idea of youth exchange programs and their expansion to non-EU countries. Correct. Thank you very much.
Thanks for following along with me in this language roller coaster. And so, Victoria, you also participated in this workshop, and you have another idea that you developed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hello. And first of all, I just want to talk about educational system. And there are people going into schools but the educational system is pretty different. Like there's a huge variety in school systems, and for example, nowadays we can still see all these sections, like people are less educated than the others, or on the other view, there are people who are more educated than the others, and there is no equal amount. Yeah, so I just want to emphasize there are no same amounts of education in the world, and we are still having these, or we still have these single-sex school for boys and separate parts for girls, and I think this is a traditional like type of school, but boys and girls need to be under one roof, like people said, to create a stronger bond and to be more together, to spend more time, to know each other well, and these interactions can have great influence on our future as well. So my first point is that we need an educational European standards. We need a same amount of education, same chances in Europe, in all European countries as well. And secondly, we need more opportunities to get to know each other, because getting to know each other, getting the culture of others, and know their traditions can help us to get better relationships in countries as well. And we have Erasmus, which is an exchange project, but we need more chances, we need more events like this to build this amazing community and society as well. So we need to include non-European states, like countries, in these projects to build strong, successful, and peaceful community. So at the end, I just want to thank you, all these amazing people, to hear my ideas and visions, and I'm grateful for this opportunity you are giving me. So remember, young blood and the young people are important, and their voices need to be heard, because they are our future. And that means getting to know each other means a lot to build a strong, successful, peaceful community as well.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think we can all agree on that the young voices need to be heard, and that education is often key for that, which is why it's also one of the priorities of the Conference on the Future of Europe. So I think your ideas are right at the heart of this big participation process. Thanks a lot for sharing them. And so now Andy has prepared some more points before we confront our two political representatives with your ideas.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say hello to everybody who's in here and online. So my group and I feel that, let's say, Europe and the whole world is full of issues, and those issues can be resolved if, let's say, both politicians and society put in a lot of effort. And the first point we made is that the youth is never listened to by the politicians. So we all have these ideas and these wishes on how we would like to improve the world and how we would like to make better laws and make everybody have the same rights. And we just feel that our voices are never heard. And so we are very grateful to be here, because here there are people who are validating our opinion and who won't just throw it away as if it were nothing. And we just feel that, let's say, this interaction between politicians and the youth could be, let's say, improved by these youth exchange programs and these language campuses and so on, such as this one. Because in these, let's say, 3-4 days, we're going to be able to share our view of the world and our ideas. And we also feel that transparency should be increased, because politicians just don't, let's say, they don't show us what they do with the money, not all of them at least. And yeah, and as well, in addition, we just concluded that minorities in Europe, but in the whole world as a whole, just don't have the same, they don't get the same treatment as, let's say, the bigger groups. Because, for example, I live in Croatia. I'm going to take Croatia as an example. And both in Croatia and in the neighboring countries, such as Slovenia, Serbia, Bosnia, and so on, there's this same conception that, in theory, everybody is equal and everybody has the same rights. Everybody is allowed to love whoever they want, to be whoever they want, and so on. But in reality, it's not that way, because always depending on the region you are in, you're going to find a lot of people who are going to judge you for being who you are or for loving somebody who you want to love. Because, for example, I'm going to take Canada as an example, because their people are really open-minded and everybody's allowed to marry whoever they want. So if a man wants to marry a man, he can do so. While in Croatia, such a thing is not allowed, even though our constitution says that everybody has the same human rights. And I and my group, we all believe that, let's say, not letting somebody marry who they want is a violation of the basic human right, which is to love. And because we as humans are made to love, and it's in our hearts. And also, all these rights should be universal in all countries. So Sweden should have the same, I mean, the politics of Sweden should treat people the same way, I don't know, Croatian politics do. And such thing is not the case, which I think is really awful, and it should be worked on. And yeah, all in all, we think that Europe, it will be a better place, but it's going to take a bit of time and a bit of cooperation and respect from both youth and politics.
Thanks a lot for your powerful and also emotional statement, Andy.
Thank you.
Maybe we can take that right to you, Mr. Popens, and focus on the point of human rights and different, let's say, understandings of this topic in Europe. This has been in the press as well in the last month a lot. And maybe if you could briefly develop on that point, which leverages does the EU have to maybe improve human rights situations in member states such as Croatia?
Well, I can start by saying that obviously when you join the European Union, you take on certain, you have certain advantages, but you also have responsibilities and rights and obligations as well. So indeed, the EU treaties, I think, are very clear about the fundamental rights. I mean, the Charter of Fundamental Rights is an obligatory part of the EU acquis. And obviously, it doesn't mean that the European Union takes over authority from national governments. We cannot do that. It is a common project. But there is an agreement when you join the EU on respecting those fundamental rights which are enshrined in the Charter. And that, of course, is sometimes a very complex situation to arrive at the unique understanding at the EU level what exactly the implementation of this charter means. But I can reassure you that obviously at the European Commission we take it very seriously, and we are working on different tools to make sure that these fundamental rights are respected. We have now, for the funds, which I'm directly responsible for, we have had, honestly, very difficult discussions with some regions in Poland where we were against processing their program amendments because they had the undiscriminatory resolutions for the LGBTI community, for example. And we see that together we found a way. They had, all of them, most of them have changed those resolutions. So indeed, we need to look at different margins that we can to influence to arrive at this common understanding what the fundamental rights means. We are working on new tools. As you know, the rule of law regulation is out there. There are important judgments that need to be done at the level of courts, because obviously everybody has to follow the right process and also the right authority that everybody has. But I think, and also for the funds, we have made the Charter of Fundamental Rights one of the key horizontal enabling conditions to simply adopt all the programs from cohesion policy funds in every member state. So we are asking every member state to make this commitment to implement all our programs. So these are some tools that we are using. But I think we really need this very EU-wide discussion. So I think the future of Europe is indeed, which you mentioned a lot in this conference, is indeed also about coming back together again on those fundamental rights and have that common understanding at the EU level from different countries and different political groups that on these core values, the compromises really should not take place. We should reinforce them equally in all EU countries, and again, with due respect to all national, laws and authorities. I think that common EU understanding is needed, and this is where the young youth organizations, but also different NGOs, should have their voice heard. We fully agree with that.
Thanks a lot. I think that this is something we can all agree on as well, that fundamental rights should not be compromised, or the goal should not be to find a compromise on these. But let's say it's still work in progress, as you said, Andy, to get there. And maybe we can see this conference and this workshop as part of this work in progress, where we as young people engage in this discussion that you named, Mr. Poppens, to maybe find a common ground. Thanks a lot to the three of you for your presentation and the ideas that you developed. So we will now proceed with the third workshop. The third workshop was quite special. I mean, all the workshops were special, of course, but the third workshop added a little more specialty. Since not only young people from the Danube region were invited, but also older people, seniors, were invited to join the discussion. And so the ideas and the eager to change of the young people that I think we already felt it today in this room as well, was combined with the life experience and the wisdom maybe of the older generation. And in my opinion, this led to some very nice and fruitful discussions on 4 different big subjects: the demographic change, culture, digitalization, and climate change were discussed. And this is why some more people are going to join me here on stage in a bit to present the different ideas and discussions from these workshops. And we will start with Zina from Germany, Philip from Serbia, and Tomislav, who is joining us online from Serbia as well. Welcome to the online participants. And so, Zina, what was the most interesting aspect, in your opinion, about this conference that you took part in?
Thank you. So for me, the most interesting aspect has been to learn about other people's opinions and their ways of thinking, especially about those of people from Eastern European countries who I don't have the chance to be in contact with so often.
Yes, I think that was special for all the participants in these workshops, that we were able to meet people that usually we wouldn't meet on the streets. So what about you, Philip? What was special for you?
So for me, the most interesting aspect about the structure of this conference has been the use of online technology, online meetings technology, and ease of access, through which I met some really wonderful people and shared my ideas with them.
Yes.
That would be all.
All right, thank you for your brief but important statement. Of course, it's true that digital tools also today allow us to discuss in this hybrid format. And one of the topics that you discussed, we will maybe come back to later, was also digitalization and its advantages and also risks. So maybe we will dig a little bit deeper into this topic later. And since Tomislav is with us today as well from Serbia, how did you feel during your participation in the conference? How would you describe the atmosphere in this young and old workshop?
First, thanks for the opportunity to be with you on this way online, because I wasn't able to be there in person. I was very interested to hear other opinions, and atmosphere was incredibly relaxed and had a good flow. And for me, the more interesting aspect was the possibility of expressing a personal opinion. That is very important to me.
Thank you. So especially in a context with many people that you don't know, that you could still discuss personal topics as well. So maybe if I could ask you, Philip, to give some more space for the COVID, regulations on stage, so that I can invite Giovanna and Astrid to join on stage, who were also participants in the intergenerational workshop. And so, Giovanna, young and old together in this online workshop, did that work? And how was it for you?
It does work. It actually works really well, and I really enjoyed it because it felt really important to me, because we got to see the points of view from the younger and from the older generations.
Thank you. I hope that the viewpoint of the older generation is just as positive, or what is your take on that, Astrid?
Well, yes, thank you. We definitely should be more in contact with young and old people, and I enjoyed that very much during this discussions online, which was really a great chance to meet so many people. And I think we can both learn, both sides, both ages, a lot from each other, and I do hope that one day we can do a project together.
That would be fabulous, of course. But maybe first you discussed these 4 big topics, the first of which was demographic change. So maybe Zina, you can develop a little bit on this. What were you discussing? Which were the main ideas?
Yeah, so in all our countries we have big changes given by demographic changes and migration, from rural areas to cities and from east to west. Families are torn apart due to the lack of employment opportunities, and the brain drain from east to west produces economic instability, especially in Eastern Europe. Aging population is growing everywhere, but effects are felt more on the eastern side. Last year, more Romanian children were born abroad than in Romania. The mortality rate in Serbia is much higher than the birth rate, and there is a lack of nursing and caring staff for the elderly, especially in the east and in rural areas.
Okay, wow, these are really some quite shocking numbers as well, that more Romanian children are born outside of Romania. And so what were then the ideas that you developed to maybe improve the situation, or at least to cope with it somehow? Could you, Michaela, who's joining us online, maybe develop on this?
Hello. I can say about my country. I'm from Bulgaria, and we have big problems with this. In fact, in the 90s and today, there are a lot of demographic change because of the conditions in life. And most of the Bulgarians prefer to go to Europe or USA because they think that life in Bulgaria is very hard. But I can see that there is a positive tendency in the last maybe 5 years. And some of the reason maybe I can say that the pandemic in this case can be seen as a positive thing because most people return to their homes.
I see. This is, of course, an interesting take on the pandemic, but it's surely true that it showed us possibilities of working from places that are maybe a little bit more in rural areas where not as many jobs, but that you can work online and you can still live there and maybe be more close to your loved ones. This is maybe something that we should look into in more detail as a society as well in this post-pandemic phase. So now we are going to make a switch in the group that is on stage, and just to show as many faces as possible that were participating in the workshop and that were discussing these different subjects. So now Marina, Giovanna, and Elena will come on stage. And you were in the subgroup that was discussing the culture topic. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, thank you everybody. Welcome. Hello from my side. And I was part of the culture workshop with about 25 people in it. And consensus in our group was that there are great differences in access to culture depending on where you live, and that the possibilities are different depending on Eastern or Western European countries. And even though there are already important cultural exchanges in place, we realize that there's a big wish for more access and more possibilities, especially for vulnerable groups. And I think this was where we already mentioned this before, and that just stresses the point how important it is to focus on exchange and cultural exchange. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So this links back a little bit to points that we were discussing before as well, that cultural exchange really should be at the heart of the youth work within Europe. What would you like to add?
So culture is a crucial element between the Danube countries and generations. Politicians should devote more energy and financial means to cultural exchanges between Eastern and Western Europe. More fundings for professional exchange between civil societies, for NGOs and institutions, but also easily accessible fundings for cultural and school exchanges for citizens of all ages and especially young people to discuss their subjects of interest and social needs.
Thanks, Giovanna. So maybe we can address this point to Mr. Hassler, who is still with us, since we have the opportunity to discuss with the politicians who are present here today. So I think in these 2 points we heard that also the digital means and the exchange opportunities for youth could be combined somehow. Is that something that in the political strategy of Baden-Württemberg, for example, is somehow considered, that exchanges could work also in the future more via online, and that also other cultural elements, for example, concerts, music, dance, could be included?
Ja, herzlichen Dank und absolut, ich glaube gerade diese Frage.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, and absolutely. I think, this topic of access is definitely a topic that that is very dear to our heart. Those who live in Baden-Württemberg, we have 800,000 people living here in Baden-Württemberg, but with their roots from the Danube region. So Baden-Württemberg is really deeply rooted also in the Danube region, and that means a major contribution for our economy, but also for our culture. We are very well aware of the fact that if people come to us, it's a loss to the countries of origin as well. And this is why I thought it was very important to hear about the digital opportunities, digital solutions. They might be key. And that holds true also for those who mentioned that there is a divide between the cities, the urban and the rural areas. In Baden-Württemberg, for example, we did have a pilot project a couple of years back where engineers and programmers actually went to Baden-Württemberg companies. Actually, they stayed there for a while, they learned the language, but then they went back to their home countries and via telework, they actually worked for us, but from their home countries. That was a very successful pilot project, because we made sure that there were skilled labor, but there was excellent job opportunities for the countries of origin. So that is maybe something that should be elaborated on, maybe also within the European Commission, or maybe there already exist these kinds of thoughts. And I think, this would be an interesting idea, an interesting path to follow.
Pairing it directly with the European level, I think this is also one purpose of this meeting today, that we all learn from each other, and maybe in a few years' time we see a project like this where engineers or other specific groups can take part in exchanges that are financed by the European level. Let's just be crazy and creative and take these visions into our realities. But of course, the precondition for projects like this to be successful is a functioning digital infrastructure. And this is another topic that was discussed in your workshops, right? And so, Elena, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your discussion on the topic of digitalization.
Yes. We discuss a lot about digitalization in our group of young and old. So I resume on these two main problems. One, how to create low thresholds access to safe internet technology for all. And the second, to use the internet as a platform to bring people together who have similar questions and want to exchange ideas, like parents, teachers, pupils, and so on. As a conclusion, these are our most debated arguments.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot. So one question, of course, is that we need a low threshold accessible infrastructure. And maybe Tara, who should be joining us online, can share the demand or the request that you developed from this idea. Thanks a lot, Elena.
Yes, thank you for the word. So I guess something that we would like to see in Europe and generally is for digital possibilities to be more developed and applied for citizens of all educational levels, and to support cross-border exchange and cooperation between civil societies. This means national and international online platforms where people could easily share their opinions and where they could easily connect and share their views, for example, about education, environmental issues, maybe some of their ideas and projects. This platform needs not to be commercialized, and it needs to be really safe for everyone to use it, because today we see a lot of trouble happening on internet.
That is true for sure. But I think I have one positive message for regarding this idea, because the Conference on the Future of Europe is also accompanied by such a platform where people from all over Europe and beyond can share their ideas. And we were already talking about that during the workshops, that all of your ideas will be put on this platform as well. And you can join the discussions that are going on there around the different ideas. And so maybe this can also be a role model for maybe smaller platforms that function in a regional context. So thanks a lot to the digitalization team. And now for the insights from the fourth workshop, or the the fourth sub-workshop, so to say, which were discussing the topic of climate change. Lena is going to join us on stage, and she will share the ideas that... all right. She will share the ideas that young and old were discussing on this important subject that is, in fact, an intergenerational challenge as well.
All right, thank you. So currently a lack of awareness of environmental issues are given, caused by many reasons. For example, lack of education, corruption, and others. And we demand in all areas, and especially in climate issues, supporting strongly more environmental education, public perception for sustainable goals, and political participation. We demand, in the name of all of us, getting young people's voices heard. On the one way is lowering voting rights to a younger age, maybe around 16. The other way is offering structures and specific possibilities to actively participate in decision-making on local, national, and European levels, working together with all generations. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lena. I guess it's really especially important, for the topic of climate change, that generations work together, since the more elderly are mostly in positions of power where these crucial decisions can be made, and the younger ones are those that are going to have to cope with whatever is decided. And so, Mr. Popens, you developed already in your first statement that the Green Deal is basically somewhat a generational contract, that the older are taking responsibility for this big challenge that lies ahead of us of coping with climate change. And Lena just brought forward one other idea of maybe lowering the voting age to 16. Is this something that you could envision maybe at the European level, that the European youth also not only gets to take part in conferences like this, but also gets to put their cross on voting day?
Thanks for the question. We cannot guarantee the lowering of the voting. I'm sorry, but that's totally not in the possibilities of the European Commission. This is according to national laws. But I want to say that on the Green Deal, it is not just about generational contract. It is about the contract on all possible levels. We have agreed at the EU level that we will seriously do something about, and the objectives of the Green Deal are ambitious, but we will only succeed if we make it to become a win-win situation. And it's not really maybe even about younger versus older. It is a lot about territories which now survive and live on the industries which pollute, on the coal production, on the energy which is polluting, and we need to work together with them. It is not about telling them, you close the mine and we give you money. No, it's about working them together with these territories to make sure that they have a recipe for development, that they can close the coal mine, but instead they have alternative sources of energy. They have diversification of their economies. They work together, rural and urban areas, under the new long-term vision for rural areas and the EU urban agenda, which we have at the EU level. So it's a lot about factors that we need to bring together, but we would rely, of course, on the younger generations also to propose these recipes. What is it that if you close the heavy polluting industry, what is it that you can do in that territory? Are there any ideas? And young people are very good in coming up with innovative ideas, with having very good instincts to do something differently. And this is why, obviously, the young generations will be involved. We have a lot of platforms already for that. We have a Just Transition platform where we listen to different stakeholders, and this event just gave me an idea. Maybe in our next Just Transition platform, we should have the youth organizations coming and talking to different stakeholders from, not just from EU level, but from different parts of Europe, which need to go through this very deep transition towards the Green Deal. But all in all your ideas, I think they are doable, they are implementable, and we really need to see, because the EU creates, through structural fund programs, we give a lot of opportunities for education, for cooperation, for digitalization, even for health and for other issues, but obviously for the Green Deal, it will be one of our priorities. So I think it matches very well what we are setting up for the next 7 years with your ideas coming from these workshops. So I can only say I'm looking forward to working with all of you for the years to come.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Poppens, for this perfect closing statement, actually. And I think we can all take this very positive message home, that all your ideas are doable. An important member of the European Commission said that, not only I did. And we can indeed be looking forward to working together more in the future to make all of these ideas a win-win situation. Not only the Green Deal, but also more cultural exchanges that maybe do not foster brain drain, but rather brain circulation, so that all parties can profit from that, maybe with the help of digital tools. These are all ideas, as we heard, that are implementable, that are not only imaginable, but that can become reality. And so I would like to thank you all for sharing these ideas and for bringing them together in this very short time. We now heard many, many different ideas, and to wrap around our mind a little bit on this variety of ideas, we are trying to make a short clustering exercise with the help of the third survey. So I would like to invite you all to scan the third QR code, and those who are online, maybe you can click on the box with the third survey, and then you should see different options that you can rank. So they are not all the ideas that were presented today, and by far not all the ideas that were discussed in the workshops, but it's somehow the big summarized ideas of what were discussed today, which can be ranked here somehow. And this ranking doesn't really mean that the first one is the most important one, but it's still interesting also to see the opinion of the people who have heard these ideas for the first time today. What is their take on them? And so we already see that the ranking is evolving, and I think, or at least it's making me happy, that the first place is occupied by more networking and cultural exchange, at least it was until a minute ago, from EU and non-EU countries, because this is one of the big purposes of this entire exchange between the Danube region countries. And of course, the new first place is just as important. So that's what I said. It's really difficult to decide on which one is the most important one. So now you see it's changing already. But I think we can all agree that more cultural exchanges and more opportunities for young people to get involved in politics across Europe, this is the main message that we can all take home from this event. Alongside with more education on climate and environment related issues, I guess this is also something that is now arriving in all of our consciousness, that the climate problematic is something that we are going to have to cope with. And so the digital possibilities are ranking last, but I think they can always be included in the other ideas, as we discussed, or as, for example, Mr. Hassler told us that there are already formats and experiments that are taking place that use these digital tools to engage in more cultural exchange or professional exchange. So thanks a lot for this last picture. This was really mostly to have all these ideas at a glance, and to have in front of all of our eyes this image of the different ideas that were developed during this longer process of the Youth Danube Salon. As I said, today is the closing event of this longer process of the 3 workshops, but it is not the end of the process. It's not the end of the Conference on the Future of Europe process, because this process, as Mr. Hassler also said, is continuing until spring at least, and we all have the possibility to engage in these discussions online with other Europeans. And also, this process of shaping the future, especially for us young people, I think it will never be over in our lifetime. And so we can all maybe take some ideas and some discussion points, some questions maybe, home to our peer groups, to our family, to our friends, and we can take them in our backpack and have something to take home from these exchanges that also maybe will accompany us for a longer period of time, maybe all of our lifetimes. And who knows, maybe some of you who is sitting in this room today will one day implement one of these ideas that were discussed today, since we heard they are all doable. And so on this very positive note, I would like to wrap up the first round of this event with a big thank you to Mr. Popens from the EU Commission and State Secretary Florian Hassler from Baden-Württemberg, and all the participants, of course, who joined us online, who presented their ideas, and also those who watched and took part in the surveys. Thanks a lot for all of your input. And now we will have a short break before we proceed with the presentation of the movies. And I think the break can last until 3:10, so that we have a good 15-minute break before we continue with the rest of the program today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second part of the Youth Danube Salon. I hope not only those who are here with me, but also those who are still with us on the live stream could refresh themselves a little bit and are now ready for the next highlight of the program, because maybe you didn't know yet, but we might see the next Oscar winner today, because we will show some of the winning movies of the interactive movie competition Shoot by Youth. Shoot by Youth is a project where young people between 15 and 25 years old from the Danube region were asked to form teams, maybe even cross-national teams, and to shoot a short movie clip on a subject that was of interest for them. This project is funded by the Baden-Württemberg Foundation. Big thanks to them. And today we have the pleasure to show some of the movies that were rewarded, and also to interview their producers, because they are actually here with us, and so we can ask them some questions on their clips, on their ideas, on how they got the inspiration. And I'm very much looking forward to this. And so I don't want you to wait any longer to see the first movie. So the first movie was made by a Bulgarian team which called themselves Youth Light, and it deals with a taboo. So we are all very excited to watch the clip.
Според проучване, България е на първо място в европейската класация за бременност при момичета на възраст от 14 до 19 години. Едва 7% от 15-годишните момичета, които водят активен полов живот, използват контрацепция. Само 42% от юношите могат да дадат изчерпателен отговор на това за какво служи презервативът.
Тези данни могат да се подобрят с наличието на адекватно здравно и сексуално образование в училищата. Дори в някои часове в училище да се споменава бегло здравното и сексуално образование, то не обхваща хората с различна сексуална ориентация, а в много училища изобщо се избягват предвидените за сексуално образование часове. Много от подрастващите нямат достъп до информация, засягаща сексуалното здраве, следователно прибягват към интернет пространството за отговори на въпросите си. А както всички знаем, тази информация не винаги е достоверна и надежна.
Младежите от ЛГБТИ плюс обществото са много по-склонни да търсят информация онлайн относно сексуалната ориентация, полово-предаваните инфекции и като цяло безопасния полов живот. Отчасти това се дължи на ограничения брой доверени възрастни, с които се чувстват комфортно да говорят по тези теми. И тъй като тази информация често се оказва медицински некоректна, това поставя младежите от обществото в по-голяма опасност да бъдат погрешно информирани.
Решението, което предлагаме, е клуб на основата на метода "Връстници обучават връстници", който да предложи достъпно образование на разбираем език в безопасна атмосфера. Идеята ни е да провеждаме срещи в училище с желащите да научат повече за безопасния секс, различните методи на контрацепция и как да водим здравословен полов живот във всички видове романтични връзки, не само в хетеросексуалните.
Bravo. So now I have the honor to invite to me on stage the two producers, or one of the two producers of this movie clip, Victoria and Alex. If you may come up with me and join me here. Maybe we can give them another round of applause. Wow, so congratulations to this very nice movie clip on a very important and relevant topic. So how was it that you decided to do a movie clip on this taboo, as you call it yourself?
Well, we met up with the team at a coffee, and we were talking among each other about what an important topic for the youth in our communities. And we came to the conclusion that sex education is one of them. And
but not just sex education in general. It's important that inclusive sex education, not just for heterosexual relationships.
Yep. Yes, but also for LGBTI plus
exactly.
relationships that. So basically, you have two taboos that you are confronting.
Yeah, right. One wasn't enough. So
all right, so it's a very courageous film as well. And so you hope that also in schools maybe the offer of information about this topic, which is indeed relevant to all of us, will become more available, and that it will become more natural to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. It will be a long process. We know that. But we are brave enough to start the conversation, and I think that with the conversation we can start something more too.
I am positive that this will be the case, and congratulations again for being so brave and for producing this movie. Was it difficult to find actors, or do you think that there's already a different kind of conscious in your age group, that people feel more comfortable also talking about these subjects or participating in a movie like this?
Well, we actually participated. Our team is consisted of the people that you saw on the video. So
we had a hard time finding actors. So we were all the producers, the screenwriters, and the actors. We will.
You were the team covered it all. Yeah. All right. And do you still think that in your age group people are more openly talking about these subjects than in other more older age groups maybe?
They are. Definitely they are. I think the situation gets better. So our age group is better than the age group before, it is better than the age group before, and we're hoping that in the future it will be even better, and this topic isn't going to be taboo anymore.
That's what we all hope. So thanks a lot for your contribution, and congratulations to your reward.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the second movie that we're going to show, we are really jumping into different topics now, and we are also kind of seeing some images from the Danube region, because the next movie is also produced by young people from Bulgaria, and it has the title #Speak. So let's see what this is about.
Защо не искате да ме чуете? Дали моето мнение е важно за вас и има ли смисъл да говоря? Ще се вслуша ли някой в младежката ми позиция? Страх ме. Притеснявам се. Никой ли няма да ми помогне? От мен ли зависи, ще успея ли да се справя сама? Искам да ме чуете. Аз имам гражданска позиция и знам, че мнението ми е важно. А ти вярваш ли в собствения си глас? Елай и участвай! Говори!
Congratulations, Adelina, who is the leading actress in this movie clip and who is joining us today to talk about her movie. Thanks for being here, Adelina, and congratulations for your movie. So in this movie, you are portraying a young girl that is in a special setting. She is in a special place, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about this place?
No, like we want to show that young people doesn't have a voice, and we can talk about different topics like freedom, because we have a problem about hearing us children's talking about very big topics, and that is why we want to do a week of discussions in Plovdiv, Bulgaria, one of the big cities in Bulgaria. So yeah.
All right. So you wanted to encourage young people to speak up, right? To use their voice, even though they can have the impression that nobody really wants to listen to them.
Yeah, because all of the people now, or children, are doesn't want to talk about their problems. And that's the thing. Maybe I want to be freedom and talk about anything we want, and to maybe people hear us or maybe not, but you can share the things. Yeah.
All right. So your message is basically, and we also see that in the movie, right? That there's a positive development. In the beginning, you're very sad, and then in the end, you're smiling. So you want to say that speaking also have this deliberating effect. It can set you free actually to speak, and then maybe you feel more empowered by the act of speaking itself, so to say.
That is why.
All right, and I was referring to this special setting because I read that Plovdiv is actually one of the oldest cities in Europe, so with the oldest population. So maybe in a city like that, it's even more difficult for young people to get their voices heard, right?
No, because old people try to understand our ideas of the things. So people can really change, or it doesn't matter the years or how old they are. So yeah.
That's nice that you're saying this, because I think it's also something that people who participated in the intergenerational workshop that we talked about earlier experience as well, that there's actually quite a lot of understanding from both sides needed, but also already present, and that if both sides use their voice and speak to each other, then this can be very empowering, right?
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for your contribution and for sharing your ideas about this movie.
Ja, der zweite Film, da ging es um das Reden und Gehörtwerden. Und der dritte Film, da geht es um das Schweigen. Silent as Nature, so heißt dieser Film. Nikola, Jelena und Milica haben diesen Film hergestellt. Sie kommen nachher auf die Bühne und sprechen darüber zu uns. Aber erstmal gucken wir uns den Film an.
Silent is Nature by Nikolai, Jelena, and Milica. Come on up, girls and boys. Sorry. To present your movie. So it's interesting that we see many different artistic approaches as well, right? We had movies with a lot of talking, with less talking, and now we had one with not even subtitles. So what is the message that you were trying to get across by this movie?
Kann ich auf Deutsch sprechen?
Ja, sehr gern.
Unser Freund.
Our friend and also our main actor, he is really at the center of attention. And, to go back to nature, that is really, a saying that we have all heard before. And, it's a very general procedure we have in mind. And it's also a very difficult process to stage. So we have to take the first step, however, and then gradually move on. So it is very important to act, not to speak. And this is what we want to convey. So we have to do something in order to actually, get ahead.
Talk about it, but by acting, you can incite people to... Das Handeln steht im Mittelpunkt. And so this action of your friend who is painting the garbage bag. This is something to motivate other people, right?
Yes, es ist ein Kern des Projekts. Wir planieren.
Yeah, right. That is at the center of attention. So. Actually, we do cooperate with an artist and an artistic association, from our hometown. And so they help us, they support us. And we also need, of course, the help of the authorities, of those who are competent. So that means your plan is that the garbage cans, you are going to paint more of them? Yes, we want to paint more of them, make them prettier. And so in this particular quarter, Shabbat, we were asked to actually move forward with this idea. And of course, this movie can help.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I hope that we will all soon in the future have very colorful garbage bags in the entire Danube region. So maybe we can make that happen by spreading your movie.
Wir hören uns ehrlich.
All right. Do you want to?
Yeah, thank you. And
I just want to say that I'm so sorry because Momchulo and one more girl participate in this with us, Victoria, are not with us here today. But I hope maybe next time they will be. And that's it.
All right, so we send greetings to them who are maybe on the live stream, and next time they are for sure invited, and we all hope that the pandemic situation will then be over and we can gather in even bigger groups. Well, thanks a lot for your contribution.
Thank you.
All right, so the last movie, unfortunately, is already the last movie that we are going to be able to show today, but online there are many more movies that you can all watch. You just have to Google Shoot by Youth, and then you can access a YouTube channel where all the produced movies can be watched. But today we are going to watch one more movie together. It's called Solution Storybook, and I am eager to see to which problem there is a solution and what the story behind this might be.
Critical thinking. the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment.
A statement by Michael Scriven and Richard Paul, presented at the 8th Annual International Conference on Critical Thinking and Education Reform.
What are you doing?
Well, that should be pretty obvious.
Competing in a speed reading competition?
No, I am discussing the importance of critical thinking in life and how the youth of today lack such a thing.
That's not true. Plenty of young people have the ability.
Really? Then let me ask you a question. How would you solve the problem of young people not reading enough books? Would you A, take away their phones, B, force them to read certain books, or C, start a book club for them?
Oh, well, I'd go with C.
And you'd be wrong.
What? How?
Because the answers to this question have all been attempted and they have all failed.
Then why did you give me this question?
To test your critical thinking ability, to see if you could recognize that the answers given wouldn't work.
Well, that's just because I haven't been taught how to think about things like that critically.
What things?
Well, how to think about the world. All school did was teach me a bunch of facts, but it didn't teach me how to think about things critically.
Exactly. Which is why I've devised a plan to solve that very problem. We will introduce a debate system into schools from grades 4 to 5.
Why debates?
Because critical thinking is developed through debates and equations and creative thinking exercises.
And the reading.
Exactly.
And no one wants to do those.
There are plenty of people that want to do those.
Do you?
I do them because I know they will help me improve my mind.
And you think that will convince people?
Probably not.
That's why I'm telling you. We've got to make it more exciting.
And how do you propose we do that?
Well, how about instead of the debate where people work to prove the other side wrong, we organize a creative exercise that encourages people to work together to solve a problem?
Well, I suppose that could work. What exercise did you have in mind?
They're kids, right?
Yes.
Then give them a problem and ask them to make a picture book for the solution.
But what if they can't draw?
Then they can just write a text.
That might actually work.
Better than a debate?
Yes.
Hey, I guess we did that just now.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
What a nice comic. Thanks a lot to Ida and Eva, who, oh yes, they're coming all the way from the back to join me here on stage to explain us further their idea of fostering critical thinking through debate. So first of all, congratulations to this very nice movie. Did one of you do the drawing?
I did all of the drawings.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish I could draw like that.
Thank you.
Really cool. It really was like a little comic.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was inspired by mostly YouTube channels that feature animated characters talking.
Yeah, there are a lot of them, right? That develop and... Okay, cool. Really nice. I guess it was a lot of work. How many different drawings did you have to do?
I'm not sure, but it took me around 7 hours to do it.
Oh, that's rather quick.
Yeah, I mean, I draw every day, so it's quite quick for me, but yeah, I don't know how many drawings, around more than 50 probably.
Okay, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to this task already. And then behind that, there was also a educational idea, right?
Yes, the educational idea to inspire children to start thinking critically, because we believe the ability to start critically thinking doesn't start from the youth. It has to be taught. So the best thing is to start teaching it at a very young age.
All right.
So,
and your idea was to foster it not through reading, because young people tend not to like reading as much, but through debates.
Not debates, because they're kids, and debates sound boring and would be an awful task for kids to do. And they would be debates of a kind, but we'd make it into a storybook, which would probably excite more kids and interest them in the same thing that debates would do, but more fun. And we believe that would be more inspirational for them as well, and they'd actually learn something from it.
All right. That's a very interesting approach. Did you already communicate it to some schools, or are you planning on doing so?
Yeah, we contacted some schools and are in the process of planning the workshops. Yeah.
Cool. Well, then I wish you a lot of luck with that, and thanks a lot for sharing your idea here, and congratulations for your reward of the Shoot by Youth competition.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. It was a pleasure.
Unfortunately, I don't have any more movies to announce. But I think we already can leave this room with heads that are filled not only with political ideas from the first part of this event, but now also with some quite nice images from countries from the Danube region. We saw images from Bulgaria, Serbia, and Croatia, kind of, and. Well, I am very grateful for all this input and the insights into your minds and your countries that I can take home with me. And I hope also our participants on the live stream feel the same way, that even though they watched us from a distance, they could participate and take something with them from this event. And thanks for joining us. We hope that we can maybe in the future continue this process and then gather here in a larger group, as was already wished. But for the moment, I have to say goodbye to you that are joining us online. And thanks for participating. Thanks for being here. And I hope we will see you soon.